Without further ado, let's get into today's video about why the Switch 2 is so much better than you think.
So for today's video, I'm going to be reacting to Retro Fiend. I received a comment from a subscriber saying, hey, please check this person out. He is a fanboy. So if there's a fanboy you want me to react to, let me know down in the comments below. Please link the video that you want me to specifically react to. And if it's a very long video, please sit there and timestamp it. Because if you tell me, hey, react to a 40-minute long video and you expect me to react to the whole thing, that is not going to happen. And if you truly enjoy my videos, please give them a like, share, and subscribe. I'm really trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I really need your help.
So starting out, I've heard so many people, a bunch of my friends included, say that the Switch 2 is just a bigger Switch.
I mean, it literally is. When you look at it, it is a bigger Switch. Now, I know what you're getting at. It is more than just a bigger Switch. It is a lot stronger, and it is a next gen compared to the Switch 1. Still behind in other generations, but still a better gen than the Switch 1.
No, it's not. The Switch 2 is incredibly powerful and is a new generation of a system. And
yes, just like I said, but you do need to understand the thing hasn't even been out yet, and you guys keep boosting like, oh, it's going to have 120 frames per second. Let's see if it can do that consistently.
What I mean by this is it's not just like a Switch Pro, it's how the PS4 is with the PS5, or even how like the PS1 is with the PS2. It's a new...
The correct comparison is the PS3 to the PS4. I notice how you're dodging all that. No, my guy, the thing is not even comparable to PS5. I know you're not trying to exactly make it, but you went from like PS4 to PS5, PS1 to PS2. Technically, if the right comparison is from a PS3 to a PS4.
New generation, yes, they kept the same name and the same look of the system, but it's still a new system.
Hey, there's nothing wrong calling it the Switch 2. Actually, there's everything wrong calling it the Switch 2. I want it to be called the Super Nintendo Switch or the Super Switch. All they're doing is copying Sony now. I will never forgive Nintendo for not calling it the Super Nintendo Switch.
We're getting an incredible amount of games launch day. While a lot of these aren't new games necessarily, there are a lot of third-party games that are huge games.
Yep, and I really hope they can continue on that third party. Now I'm holding out hopes because once the PS6 and the new Xbox comes out, I don't think the Switch 2 is going to be able to handle them without doing cloud streaming.
Cyberpunk 2077 running on a portable system like the Nintendo Switch is just incredible. Cyberpunk 2077 is literally one of the benchmark games people use to show off how good a system is.
Maybe back a couple of years ago, but not really anymore. I mean, it did come out on the PS4 and the Steam Deck can't run it, so I wouldn't sit there and say that should be used. If you really want to see how well a Switch 2 can do, how about put Black Myth Wukong on there? That'll sit there and show it.
So being able to play that on a portable system made by Nintendo is just crazy. And this is another thing that we're seeing on this system. There are so many third-party games that are coming out launch day, and more that we haven't seen yet that are gonna be coming out soon.
Yeah, but you do realize a lot of those games are way too overpriced. Over on the PS5 or the Xbox or even Steam, we can get them for far cheaper. Look at Hogwarts Legacy. You can literally get that copy for the PS5 for like $25. But if you don't own the digital copy, let's say you bought that horrible port for the Switch 1 and you bought a physical copy, you're screwed. Because then you got to re-buy the Switch 2 copy. Now, if you got a digital copy, you can get a $10 upgrade, which I think you should just get it for a free upgrade, in my opinion, because they gave you a horrible port to begin with.
If you compare Fortnite from how it is on the Switch 1 to how it is on the Switch 2, it is an incredible difference. And yes, it is Fortnite, which is a free game and isn't that high in graphics quality.
Well, I would sure hope so. I mean, the Switch 1 was a PS3 compatibility. This one's a PS4, so I would hope that the Fortnite will look a hell of a lot better. I'm just hoping your Hogwarts Legacy is going to run correctly.
But for the Switch 2, for it to just look like how it looks on the PS5 is crazy. So like I said, with these third-party games, just the comparisons between this and like a PS4 Pro are on par. And the PS4...
Thank you. Finally a Nintendo person said it. I'm so proud of you. You know what? I'm going to sit there and say you're a Nintendo fan. You ain't a fanboy like Nintendo Prime and Switch Force and a couple other ones I can't remember.
Pro isn't that old of a console. I believe it came out in 2018. So yes, A 2018 system? Well, see, that's kind of old, but this is a portable system the size of like a phone and a half, and it's running these games natively. So it's not like the PS Portal where you have to have an internet connection and you can play games from your PS5. These games are being played on this system.
Even though I don't overly support the PS Portal, I've never even played it, but I will sit there and say at least the PS Portal does get a subscription service where you do get a good deal. With Nintendo, you get a terrible subscription service. That subscription service they have, that ain't nothing but dog shit.
Which means that you can play these anywhere. You can play them in an airport with no internet. You can play them just anywhere. So to have that ability is just amazing.
Yeah, that's the only thing Nintendo has going for it, is they can play them anywhere.
Now, another thing about this system that makes it so much better than the original Switch is just all the minor improvements they've made to it. If you've played Mario Kart with a big group of people and had to use the Joy-Cons on the side, you know what I'm talking about. The original Joy-Cons had little tic-tacs for buttons. The Switch 2 completely
I think most YouTube fanboys are used to those little tic-tacs, if you know what I mean.
Does the entire system from the ground up while keeping the same style that they had with the Switch 1. They said this in the Direct, but they made so many changes to the system, it's practically non-distinguishable from the original Switch.
I mean, when you look at it, I can tell why that people would think that this is nothing more than a Switch Pro. I mean, it looks just like a regular Switch, except the Joy-Cons are a different color and it's a little bigger.
Only it has the same case and it has the same UI, but they made so many changes that are just quality of life improvements from the original Switch that we're seeing on this new system. So another really cool thing that we're seeing on the Switch 2 is just the amount of first-party games from the Switch 1 that are going to get an upgrade for this system.
Okay, I take back what I said now. You are starting to get into fanboy territory. How do you think those upgrades are really a good thing? They're literally charging you for the bare minimum. These upgrades for those Switch 1 games should be free. They should not be charging you $10, $20. That's just ridiculous.
We already saw a bunch in the Direct that are getting entirely brand new versions, but there's so many games that have yet to be announced.
How are those new versions? Literally, they're the same game with a slight upgrade to them, and they want to make you pay for them.
For the Switch 2 to get a better version made. It's really nice for Nintendo to kind of go back to some of their best hits from the Switch 1 and kind of just add new DLC or add better graphics to the game.
Those are slight upgrades to them, which are generally the bare minimum. And even with the DLC, we'll use Astrobot as an example. After it won Game of the Year, it included some free DLC to add a few extra couple hours of gameplay to it, just like what they're doing with here. But guess what? It was free. They didn't charge you for that crap.
It makes the launch of this system so much crazier because we have the entire catalog of the Switch 1 on this system. And with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom getting updates on launch day, you can have entirely new adventures with this game. And with some other games, they're getting some upgrades later on down the line. And there are some games that haven't been announced yet, but we will be getting a Direct probably in June.
Yeah, you should not be excited to get more upgrades down the line that they're just going to make you pay for. These are bare minimum upgrades that they should give you for free. And you don't need to buy these Switch 2, well, not exclusive, but you don't need to buy these Switch 2 games. You can literally get the Switch game and sit there and play it. I mean, it's backwards compatible. What is the point of all these becoming a Switch 2 cartridge and overpaying you for it? You're literally going to have to pay, like, if you want the DLC with Breath of the Wild, I believe you're going to have to pay $90 for it.
Talking about more Switch 2 editions of games that we're getting. And now one thing that isn't necessarily about the Switch 2 being so much better, but one thing that I kind of just want to break the negative talking about is the game key cards.
Yes, those game key cards are nothing but BS. Yes, Sony does it. Yes, Microsoft does it. It is still BS. I don't care who does it. If you're literally going to get a cartridge, it should be a physical game. It should not be a game key card. No one can sit there and change my mind on it.
So many people are complaining about Nintendo coming out with these game key cards, which don't actually have the game on them, but rather they have a line of code saying that you can play this game. This isn't anything really new.
It doesn't matter if it's new or not. This should be unacceptable to everybody. If they're going to release if they're going to release a cartridge, it should be the full game on there.
Sony and Xbox have been doing this since the PS4. A lot of games on the PS4 don't have the game on them. They just have a little key saying you can play this game.
Yes, and we've been all sitting there laughing at people that are like, "Oh, I care about physical media. Oh, I want my physical game." We've been telling people for a while now, you don't own your games. It's literally not even on the disc itself.
And I know it is kind of weird for Nintendo to have this because a lot of their games have always been on the disc or on the cartridge, so they're kind of straying away from this. I think it'd be really nice for Nintendo to actually include the game on the cartridge fully.
I mean, that's just the bare minimum. And yes, I know Nintendo isn't the one actually doing it, but this is Nintendo's platform. They can control what third parties do. They can be like, no, if you're going to release a physical cartridge, it will be the full game on there. No game key cards.
Since we're paying $80 for these games. But at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. You still get to have the game physically, which is always really nice. I love collecting games physically.
There is no collecting key cards. Key cards goes against everything what physical gaming stands for. Because what happens if the shop goes down? You're screwed. Those key cards are useless at that point.
The only downside with it is storage space. I would imagine that, getting so many of these game key cards is basically just getting them digitally, but you have to have the cartridge to play the game.
Okay, I think what you're trying to say is what happens to the third-party games that exceeds the 64 gigabyte thing. A lot of people may not remember, but back during the PS1, we used to get games that had multiple discs. Okay, Final Fantasy VII was 3 discs. Legend of Dragoon was 4 discs. Final Fantasy VIII was 4 discs. Guess what? Let's sit there and say they want to release a 100 gig game onto the Switch 2. Do 2 cartridges. You can do that probably.
And it has to actually download the game on your system rather than just downloading the save data from the game. But taking that into account, it's not that big of a deal. But right now, the Switch 2 is probably one of the best handhelds you can get, especially at its price of $450.
BS. That is not a good price, especially when you go to Japan. You can get theirs for $330, and it's the exact same system. People are like, oh, it's region locked. They can make any system region locked. You do understand that, right?
When it comes to video game handhelds, the Steam Deck is about that price or even more for what they're offering with the same storage capacity.
Yes, maybe, but guess what? To my knowledge, the Steam Deck is not using us to subsidize another country's welfare system.
So my main hope for the Switch 2 is that they come out with so many more third-party games that are PC games and just more PS5 and Xbox Series X games, because I would love to play some of these games portably. I already said
I would love for Astrobot to come to the Switch too. Can you imagine how much Harmon Smith will be throwing a fit? I know this video is about this guy, not Harmon Smith, but I just had to throw that one out there.
that Cyberpunk 2077 I have yet to play, but I'm going to get that game day one and play through it on the Switch 2 because it is portable. So yeah, wrapping up, I just think that the Switch 2 is such just an incredible package for its price, and I think it's just a great system.
Yeah, you have yet to explain once in this entire video why that is worth it for the $450 and why Mario Kart World is worth $80.
So seeing a lot of people saying that, it's just a bigger Switch doesn't really make sense. And one thing that I'd like to say is that as a Nintendo fan, I want this console to do good. So I'm very excited for these couple years of the Switch 2 that we're going to be getting. I can't wait to see what Nintendo has in store. So if you guys are excited about the Switch 2, let me know if you're picking one up. If you're already
Oh, I bet you can't wait. Just wait till that $100 new Zelda game comes out. I'm interested to hear what you're going to say. For the most part, I actually did enjoy this video. I'm going to be looking out for this guy, continue to watch his stuff. If he does more fanboy-like stuff like this, I will sit there and react to it. But if you enjoyed my video, please give it a like, share, and subscribe. And if you agree with me or not, please let me know down in the comments. And until next time, stay vigilant.